In a world often filled with stories of hardship and despair, small acts of kindness can shine like beacons of hope. Imagine a moment when a simple gesture transforms lives and rekindles faith in humanity. This is exactly what happened when Barron Trump, the youngest son of former President Donald Trump, decided to take matters into his own hands. He learned about a family in need, the Johnsons, whose struggles had become a quiet echo in their community. The Johnsons had been facing numerous challenges, from financial difficulties to personal hardships that seemed insurmountable. Barron, known for his quiet demeanor, surprised everyone when he stepped out of the shadows and into action. His decision to help was not just a fleeting thought. It was a heartfelt mission to bring joy and relief to a family that needed it the most. As news of his plans began to spread, anticipation built within the community, and a sense of excitement replaced the routine. The stage was set for a heartwarming surprise that would go viral, capturing the essence of generosity and compassion. The story is not just about one young man's good deed. It's a reminder of the profound impact we can all have on one another's lives through kindness. Join us as we unfold the beautiful moments leading up to this incredible event. Meet the Johnson family, a loving household that has faced more than a fair share of challenges. Living in a modest home in a tight-knit community, they had always been known for their resilience and warmth. However, recent times had tested their strength. Mr. Johnson lost his job several months ago due to unforeseen circumstances, and Mrs. Johnson had taken on multiple part-time roles to keep the household afloat. Despite their best efforts, the financial strain was evident, causing stress and worry that weighed heavily on the family. The couple had two children, Lucy and Ethan, who were full of energy and dreams, but often found themselves feeling the impact of their parents' struggles. They had learned to make the best of their situation, but the holiday season loomed ahead, bringing with it a reminder of their challenges. The Johnsons had always believed in the power of community, but they never expected to be on the receiving end of such grace and generosity. Wait a second. The Johnsons said, little did they know that a remarkable surprise was in store for them. A surprise that would not only change their holiday season, but also restore their hope in kindness and the goodness of people. As Barron Trump set his plan in motion, the stage was set for an unforgettable moment that would touch the hearts of many. The Johnson family had always been a pillar of strength within their small community. Living in a cozy two-story house adorned with fading paint and a well-worn porch swing, they embodied the spirit of resilience. Mr. Johnson, a tall man with an easy smile, had worked as an electrician for over a decade. He took pride in his work, often going the extra mile to ensure that every job was completed with care. However, after the company he worked for downsized, his world turned upside down. The steady paycheck he had relied on vanished, leaving a gaping hole in the family's finances. Mrs. Johnson, a warm-hearted woman with a talent for baking, quickly stepped up to support her family. She juggled multiple part-time jobs, working at the local grocery store during the day and serving at a nearby diner in the evenings. Despite her busy schedule, she always found time to help her children with their homework and bake their favorite cookies on weekends. But the exhaustion was evident. Her once bright eyes now carried the weight of worry. She often smiled through the fatigue, reassuring her children that everything would be okay, even when the bills piled up on the kitchen counter. Lucy, the eldest at 12, was a budding artist. She found solace in painting, her room filled with vibrant canvases that reflected her dreams. However, the pressure of her family's situation cast a shadow over her creativity. She often felt guilty for wanting art supplies, knowing that her parents were struggling to make ends meet. Meanwhile, Ethan, her younger brother, was just 8 years old, full of curiosity and energy. He looked up to Lucy and tried to emulate her creativity, but he too sensed the tension at home. He often asked, "Mom, are we going to be okay?" To which she would respond with a reassuring hug. Even when her heart ached with uncertainty. Every morning, the Johnsons would gather around the kitchen table for breakfast. A simple meal of toast and jam. They cherished these moments, sharing laughter and stories about their day ahead. However, even in these cherished moments, the tension was palpable. Mr. Johnson would sometimes excuse himself, stepping outside to take a deep breath, trying to shake off the stress of his job hunt. He would scan the neighborhood, watching neighbors go about their routines, their lives seemingly untouched by the troubles that plagued his family. He listened after breakfast. Lucy would walk to school with Ethan, holding his hand tightly. She would put on a brave face, but inside she worried about how her classmates viewed her family's situation. The school had a holiday event coming up, and Lucy had always looked forward to participating. However, this year felt different. She couldn't shake the feeling that her family's struggles would cast a shadow over what should have been a joyful time. As the days passed, the Johnsons faced mounting challenges. The car, their only means of transportation, broke down and they lacked the funds to repair it. This forced Mrs. Johnson to rely on public transport for work, adding more strain to her already busy schedule. The children felt the impact too, as they had to walk to school, which was further than they were used to. Each step felt heavier as they trudged along, their hearts laden with concern for their family. Despite their hardships, the Johnsons remained grateful for what they had. They never lost sight of the importance of family and community. Neighbors often stepped in to help, bringing over meals or offering to look after the children when Mrs. Johnson had to work late. These small gestures meant the world to the Johnsons, reinforcing their belief that kindness still existed in the world. However, as the holiday season approached, the reality of their situation became increasingly difficult to ignore. The pressure to provide a joyful Christmas for their children weighed heavily on Mrs. Johnson. She often stayed up late, staring at the ceiling, contemplating how to make the holiday special without the means to do so. It was during one of these sleepless nights that a spark of hope flickered in her heart. She thought of the community, the kindness they had shown, and how sometimes unexpected joy could arise from the most challenging situations. Little did she know, a significant surprise was on the horizon, one that would change the course of their holiday season and their lives forever. Barron Trump, the youngest son of former President Donald Trump, had grown up in a life of privilege, surrounded by luxury and opportunities. However, as he matured, he became increasingly aware of the world beyond his own experiences. He had a strong sense of empathy, and it was this quality that led him to seek out ways to make a difference in the lives of others. One chilly afternoon, while scrolling through social media, Barron stumbled upon a post that caught his eye. It was a local community group sharing stories of families in need, particularly highlighting the struggles of the Johnson family. As he read through the comments, he learned about the challenges they faced. Mr. Johnson's job loss, Mrs. Johnson's job loss, Mrs. Johnson's job loss. His children, Lucy and Ethan, were enduring. And the hardships that their children, Lucy and Ethan, Barron felt a tug at his heartstrings. He had always believed in the power of kindness and knew that he wanted to do something meaningful. Inspired by their story, Barron took a moment to reflect on his own life. He had often received gifts and opportunities that many could only dream of, and he realized that sharing some of that good fortune with others was a way to honor the privileges he had. The Johnson situation resonated with him deeply. He remembered how his own family had faced challenges in public life, and he wanted to help provide a sense of relief and joy for the Johnsons, especially during the Johnsons' life was on a minefield for others. The decision to help the Johnsons wasn't a fleeting thought. Barron felt a growing determination to make a genuine impact. He started brainstorming ideas about how to surprise the family and bring a little joy into their lives. After a few days of contemplation, he decided to gather a team of trusted friends and family members to help him organize the surprise. He wanted to ensure that his efforts would be meaningful and would truly reflect the spirit of giving. Barron reached out to his parents, sharing his desire to help the Johnson family. To his surprise, they were incredibly supportive. His mother, Melania Trump, emphasized the importance of compassion and giving back to the community, while his father encouraged him to take the lead and make a real difference. With their backing, Barron felt more motivated than ever to turn his vision into reality. The planning began in earnest. Barron and his team started by reaching out to local businesses and organizations to gather donations. They contacted grocery stores for food supplies, toy stores for gifts, and even local contractors who could help with home repairs for the Johnsons. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Many businesses were eager to contribute to the cause, touched by Barron's initiative in the story of the Johnson family. Funny thing is, I actually died during that year. As the logistics began to take shape, Barron wanted to ensure that the surprise would be a memorable occasion for the Johnsons. He envisioned a festive holiday gathering at their home, filled with warm decorations, delicious food, and gifts for the entire family. He imagined Lucy and Ethan's faces lighting up as they opened presents, and he wanted to create an atmosphere of joy and gratitude that would linger in their hearts long after the event. To add a personal touch, Barron decided to write a heartfelt letter to the Johnsons. In it, he expressed his admiration for their strength and resilience in the face of adversity. He wanted them to know that they were not alone and that their story had touched him deeply. He hoped that this surprise would bring some relief and happiness into their life. As the day of the surprise approached, Barron and his team worked tirelessly to finalize the details. They decorated the Johnsons' home with twinkling lights, garlands, and a beautifully adorned Christmas tree. Local volunteers joined in, bringing homemade dishes and desserts to create a festive feast. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement as everyone worked together, driven by the same goal: to bring joy to the Johnson family. On the day of the surprise, Barron felt a mix of nerves and excitement. He arrived at the Johnsons' home with his team, ready to execute the plan. They had coordinated with the family to ensure they would be home at the right time. As they set everything up, Barron couldn't help but imagine the moment when the Johnsons would walk through the door, completely unaware of what awaited them. Finally, the moment arrived. The team hid behind furniture and curtains, trying to contain their excitement, as they heard the sound of the Johnsons' car pulling into the driveway. Barron took a deep breath, feeling a rush of anticipation. He could hear the laughter of Lucy and Ethan as they stepped out of the car, their voices brightening the cold afternoon air. As the family entered their home, Barron and his team jumped out from their hiding spots, shouting, "Surprise!" The room erupted with cheers and laughter, filling the air with warmth and joy. The Johnsons stood frozen for a moment, disbelief etched on their faces, before the reality of the surprise washed over them. Barron stepped forward, holding the letter he had written, and smiled warmly. "See, the line from backstage say, if you want a number, you need to pass it, fill the gap." Barron stepped forward, holding out the letter. I'm Barron," he said, his voice genuine and inviting. "I wanted to do something special for your family this holiday season. We're here to celebrate you and to bring some joy into your lives." The Johnsons were overwhelmed with emotion, their eyes glistening with tears of gratitude. In that moment, the spirit of kindness and connection filled the room, setting the stage for a heartwarming celebration that would forever change their holiday season. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the quaint neighborhood as Barron Trump and his team stood outside the Johnson family home, their hearts racing with excitement. The door was adorned with a festive wreath, and the faint sound of laughter could be heard from inside. Barron glanced at his team, who shared his anticipation, and nodded. It was time to bring the surprise to life. As the Johnsons parked their car and stepped out, Barron could feel his pulse quicken. He had rehearsed this moment in his mind countless times, and now it was finally happening. Mrs. Johnson unlocked the door, and they all stepped inside, the warmth of their home enveloping them. Barron could hear Mr. Johnson asking the kids about their day, the sound of their voices filling the air with a comfortable and familiarity. "Okay, everyone ready?" Barron whispered to his team, who were strategically positioned around the room, hidden behind furniture and decorations. They nodded, their eyes wide with excitement. "Surprise!" Barron shouted as he and his team jumped out from their hiding spots. The room erupted with cheers, laughter, and the sound of clattering decorations as the family stood frozen in shock. Mrs. Johnson dropped her purse, and Mr. Johnson's eyes widened in disbelief. She, what? Who are you? Mrs. Johnson stammered, her hand instinctively reaching for her husband's arm. I'm Barron Trump. We wanted to do something special for your family this holiday season, he explained, his voice warm and sincere. We heard about the challenges you've been facing, and we're here to celebrate you. The Johnsons exchanged bewildered glances, their mouths agape. This can't be real, Mr. Johnson finally managed to say, his voice shaky with emotion. Barron smiled. It's very real. We've got a lot planned for you today. Lucy and Ethan's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Are we really having a party? Lucy asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Yes, a holiday celebration just for you, Barron replied, gesturing to the beautifully decorated living room. The Christmas tree stood tall in the corner, adorned with twinkling lights and colorful ornaments, while tables overflowed with delicious food prepared by local volunteers. Mrs. Johnson's eyes filled with tears as she took in the sight. I don't know what to say, she said, her voice cracking. This is so generous of you. Barron stepped closer to her, gently placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You don't need to say anything. We just want you to enjoy this moment. As the initial shock began to wear off, the Johnsons started to move around the room, their expressions shifting from disbelief to joy. Ethan darted toward the table laden with treats, his eyes wide with excitement. Look at all the cookies, he exclaimed, reaching for a gingerbread man. You're welcome. I can't wait to see what you create, Barron replied, genuinely excited for her. Ethan, not to be left out, opened his gift to find a set of building blocks and a few action figures. His face lit up with joy as he jumped up and down. This is the best day ever, he shouted, holding up his new toys for everyone to see. The atmosphere was electric, with laughter and gratitude as the family continued to open gifts. Barron felt his heart swell with joy, knowing that he had played a part in bringing this happiness to the Johnsons. Once the gifts were unwrapped, Barron gathered the family around the table for a celebratory meal. They shared stories and laughter, the warmth of the room enveloping them like a cozy blanket. Mrs. Johnson served everyone's plates, her heart feeling lighter than it had in months. This is so delicious, Mr. Johnson said, savoring a bite of the homemade lasagna. You all have no idea how much this means to us. Barron smiled, feeling a sense of connection with the family. It's all about community, he said. We're stronger together, and I'm glad we could bring some joy to your lives. As the meal continued, Barron listened intently to the Johnsons' stories, marveling at their resilience and determination. They spoke of their hopes for the future, sharing dreams that had been put on hold because of their struggles. Barron felt inspired by their spirit, knowing that this was just the beginning of a brighter chapter for them. After the meal, the celebration continued with music and laughter filling the air. Barron encouraged everyone to dance, and soon the living room turned into an impromptu dance floor. Lucy and Ethan twirled and spun, their laughter echoing throughout the house. Mrs. Johnson joined in, her earlier worries forgotten as she danced with her children, a radiant smile lighting up her face. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow through the windows, Barron took a moment to step outside. He stood on the porch, taking a deep breath of the crisp evening air, feeling a sense of contentment wash over him. He had set out to make a difference, and in doing so, he had forged a connection that transcended their differences in background and circumstance. Moments later, Mrs. Johnson joined him, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. Thank you for everything, Barron. You have no idea how much this means to our family, she said, her voice filled with emotion. Barron smiled, feeling the weight of her words. I'm just glad I could help. You all deserve this happiness, he replied sincerely. As the night wore on, the Johnson family basked in the warmth of the surprise that Barron had orchestrated. It was a night filled with love, laughter, and a sense of hope that would linger long after the holiday season had passed. Barron had not only brought joy to their lives, he had reminded them of the power of kindness and community, a lesson that would resonate with them for years to come. The surprise celebration for the Johnson family quickly became the talk of the neighborhood, igniting a wave of positivity and goodwill that rippled through the community. As word spread about Barron Trump's heartfelt initiative, neighbors and friends began to rally together, inspired by the kindness shown to the Johnsons. On the day of the celebration, familiar faces from the community showed up to lend a hand. Local volunteers helped prepare the food, while others decorated the Johnson home, transforming it into a festive haven. It wasn't just Barron's effort. It was a collective outpouring of love and support that illuminated the true spirit of the community. As the evening progressed, the Johnsons' home became a vibrant gathering place. Neighbors dropped by to join in the festivities, bringing their own dishes to share and joining in the laughter that echoed throughout the living room. This sense of camaraderie reminded everyone of the strength found in togetherness, and it created an atmosphere of warmth that enveloped the Johnson family. Throughout the celebration, the Johnsons expressed their profound gratitude to those who had come together to support them. Mr. Johnson stood up to address the crowd, his voice filled with emotion. We're truly overwhelmed by all of this, he began, glancing at his wife and children who nodded in agreement. Thank you to everyone who has helped us through this tough time. We couldn't have imagined such kindness. Mrs. Johnson followed, her eyes glistening with tears of joy. Your support means the world to us, she said, her voice shaking with emotion. This has reminded us that we are not alone, and we have a community that cares. Lucy and Ethan, beaming with delight, chimed in as well, thanking their neighbors and Barron for the gifts and the festive atmosphere. This is the best Christmas ever, Ethan exclaimed, causing everyone to chuckle with joy. As the celebration continued, it became clear that the impact of Barron's kindness extended far beyond the Johnson family. It inspired others in the community to reflect on their own capacity for generosity and compassion, creating a ripple effect of goodwill that fostered deeper connections among neighbors. The Johnson story became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in challenging times, kindness could bring people together and create lasting change. The celebration for the Johnson family was more than just a festive gathering. It became a pivotal moment that illuminated the power of kindness within a community. Barron Trump's heartfelt initiative not only brought joy to the Johnsons, but also inspired those around them to come together in a spirit of generosity and support. It served as a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can create ripples of change, transforming lives and strengthening bonds among neighbors. In a world where challenges often overshadow the good, this event highlighted the profound impact that compassion can have. The Johnson story resonated deeply with many, showcasing how empathy can bridge gaps and foster a sense of belonging. It encouraged individuals to reflect on their own capacity to make a difference, regardless of their circumstances. As we move forward, let us all embrace the spirit of kindness that characterized the Johnson celebration. Every community has its own stories of struggle, and it is within our power to spread positivity and support those in need. Whether it's through organized efforts or simple gestures of goodwill, we can all contribute to creating a more compassionate world. By choosing kindness, we not only uplift those around us, but also inspire others to join in, creating a cycle of generosity that enriches our communities. Let us be the change we wish to see and continue to spread warmth and love wherever we go.